They've spent decades in radio, then went into seclusion. But like all of us, cabin fever's gotten too strong. So they put on their headphones, grabbed their microphones, and flipped the big red switch to get back in the spotlight. Now, they're back on the Kent and Kathi cast.
The big red switch, that's what it's all about. Indeed. Hi, how are you?
Wow, welcome back. What a great day for a show and a beautiful day outside, Ken. This is a good day. We've got some stuff to talk about today. Guess who's joining us on the big cast, a part of the cast today?
Who would that be tonight?
Oh, I would have to say one of our most familiar faces and voices is joining us coming up on the Kent and Kathi cast. Linda Cavanaugh is in talking about her upcoming special on the 25th anniversary of the Oklahoma City bombing, if you can believe it's been that long.
That's right, and something that you'll want to see tonight, and we'll be done with our show in time for you to go tune that in on Channel 4. Also, online polls and why they could be dangerous for you.
It's like a good question. Are they dangerous? Because I'm probably in trouble if that's the case. Hey, there's a new treatment known as burger flipping, and it's saving lives.
And we're going to also have the gender mind bender tonight as well. So we'll have all that coming up here on the Kent and Kathi cast. Thanks for being with us right here on Facebook.
Don't forget, when you're on the Kent and Kathi cast Facebook page, your comments will probably be on the air. So definitely jump in and chime in on each conversation that we have with you. For instance, you've seen this all over Facebook lately. Everybody's been posting their picture from their senior year, no matter when you graduated, posting up those, well, for some of us, digging them out from the old archives and posting them up and sharing in support of the class of 2020. A lot of hashtags. If you just go put the hashtag class 2020 in, oh my gosh, you'll see so many of them. But believe it or not, while this is sweet and super fun and a lot of us are doing it, the Better Business Bureau is saying you need to stop and stop immediately because it's allowing scammers to get a lot more information on you. And unfortunately, it's causing a lot of problems. Matter of fact, if you think about what you post when you put up your graduation and then of course your friends share and it somehow gets out what city you're from, what school you attended, what year you graduated. And I'm not sure if you knew this, but when I read the report from the Better Business Bureau, I stopped for a second. I was like, have I ever used these things? They say that within online security, 2 of the most common security questions are about, your high school, where you graduated and what year. So It's a good idea. Instead of posting those, be as generic as possible. And I thought, well, you know what? I'm sitting in my studio, and that just so happens to be where my yearbook is.
No, all right.
Way back in the dawn of time at an undisclosed location and an undisclosed. Let's see. Okay.
You actually dug it out, dusted it off, and we're going to see your. Is that your senior picture?
Can you see it?
Down there in the lower left. Okay. Yes.
And you see some of my buddies there, too, so they'll probably really appreciate me sharing. How about that? So, yes, well, I actually still have my yearbook after all this time.
And I've got mine somewhere out in the garage in a box somewhere, but I was able to look up my picture online. What's the online yearbook site that you can look through that? And I did find mine, so I'm going to show you mine here. This is my senior picture. Vast difference. Because I've got hair there, obviously. I started losing my hair when I was in my 20s. So, and one of the things that they did was for the seniors, they wanted everyone to do a quote to go with their name. And so, you probably can't read it very well, but it says, success is the result of honest efforts and positive attitudes. And, I thought of that while on the band bus. I played in the marching band, the concert band in high school. We were on our way to a football game, and I said, I've got to think of a quote for the yearbook. And that's what I was able to come up with. And it kind of stuck. So it's been
you pretty much lived your life like that. Yeah, I see that in your work, too. You are that guy. And I think that's a great piece of advice.
I appreciate that. I just try to keep a positive attitude about everything. If something goes wrong, you look at the bright side of things because looking at the downside isn't going to get you anywhere but down. True. So that's
adaptability, positive attitude, these are the things that make some of us float. And so we're still floating, baby.
Oh, and by the way, you're talking about being careful about posting your pictures online. Also, taking online polls. When people are asking you, sometimes they do these fun games, and they ask questions like, where did you grow up? What's your favorite color? What's your favorite band? What was the name of your first pet? What street did you grow up on? Those are questions that you may recognize as security questions in case you forgot your password. So don't give those things out either. Police departments are really warning people that if you do that, it's just making easier for someone to guess your passwords and hack into your computer. So watch out for those things. Yeah.
That's too much. If you think about how many times we do that, sometimes somebody will share something on a page and you just thought, oh, that would be fun to find out what's my favorite sort of like an alternate superhero. If I were a superhero, what would I be? Or just something like that. They do ask for a lot of information. I think the one that I'm addicted to are the ones that come up and it's like, it almost taunts you. Can you name every song from the 80s posted here? Or can you name every 80s movie? Because I'm like, I got this. But unfortunately, it usually comes back to haunt you later, right?
Right, I know. But I love those kind of games anyway, especially the 80s songs or whatever. Anything, of course, you and I have been on the radio for years. You ask us about music, chances are we're going to know the answer to that. Also, now what about this burger flipping treatment? You mentioned that earlier. I want to share with you what that is. Now, it was about a week ago, there was a video going around of a doctor describing breathing exercises to help people who have caught the coronavirus. The method was to take several breaths, hold each one, cough, and then lay down on your stomach for 5 minutes. And by laying on your front, more oxygen can get into your lungs. Now, doctors have been placing the sickest coronavirus patients on their stomachs to help increase the amount of oxygen that's getting to their lungs. And they've named that burger flipping. Instead of laying on your back, like most hospital patients do, flip them over, put them on their stomach. So a New York doctor said that we're saving lives with this one 100%. It's a simple thing to do, and we've seen remarkable improvement for every single patient. It says about 7 years ago, I guess, French doctors published an article in New England Journal of Medicine showing that this effect can actually work people. So they say that the oxygen saturation rate in the blood has gone from 85% to 98% in some patients.
Oh, my goodness.
Huge jump. And so the ventilated
flip them
patients,
like a burger.
Flip them like a burger, and they stay on their stomach for about 16 hours a day, which is great news, except now there's going to be a shortage of massage tables. And of course, in a hospital gown, when you get flipped over, do you know what happens?
Peekaboo!
Yeah, just make sure that they close that up on the back and we'll be good. All right.
I'll take mine medium. Thank you. Okay. Ba-dum-bum.
Ba-dum-bum. All right. Whoops. Where'd that picture come from? Let's get that picture out of there. It came back to haunt me.
I tell you what, when you put a high school picture up, they say whatever goes on the internet stays on the internet. So it'll be there for life now, Ken. Sorry.
It's out there. All right. What do you say we do our gender mind bender? You ready for that?
Okay, so you had me on this one last time. I'm definitely going to be tuning in to see if I can figure it out. And I'm with you. Comment on the Kent and Kathi cast page on Facebook if you think you know the answer to this one.
All right, here it is. The number of women doing this has gone up 25% in the past 10 years. What is it? The number of women doing this has gone up 25% in the past 10 years. All right, so go ahead and make your guesses.
All right, I'm going to peek over here at Facebook and see if we've got any guesses just yet. And I'm going to be thinking about that one too. So we'll keep checking that out and coming back to see your answers.
And we will keep giving that question again a few times as we get some answers. Might give you some clues through the show, but we will reveal the answer by the end of the show. All right?
Okay.
All right, lots coming up. We, of course, have Linda Cavanaugh on the way later on the show.
Plus, there's actually an interesting story, Dr. Fauci, on the return of sports. That's coming up also on the Kent and Kathi Cast.
Donations and match smartness. How do these two go hand in hand? Well, we are live at Second Harvest Food Bank.
A slight chance of some participation. It's rain. It's going to bring a possibility of some rain that will be moving into our area.
Did you grab anything when you walked out the door?
I didn't grab nothing but two Tortino's pizza out of the refrigerator.
It's okay. Come a little closer. I'm going to stay over here by Joni.
Do they know each
No, hold him tight. Hold him tight. Hold him tight.
I am.
Hold him tight.
I am.
You got him. Damn! Oh, it's okay. All right. On, Joni, you got it.
First and last name, please.
Erica O'Donnell.
And can you spell first and last?
Firstlalast.
I meant your first and last name.
Well, the sign says that it's 4 quarters for an hour, but a quarter only gets you 15 minutes. Yeah. So if my math is correct, that's not an hour.
That's not an hour.
Not an
but
hour.
It is. And also...
A quarter, 15 minutes?
Break's over. Back to the fun on the Kent and Kathi cast.
Well, actually, that was kind of fun, wasn't it?
That's adorable.
Little news bloopers there for you. We have some more of those on the way, so stick close for that.
And speaking of news, one of the best in the biz who has come out of retirement for something very special happening in less than an hour. You're going to talk with us first, and that's, again, still on the way here on the Kent and Kathi cast. So interesting, you mentioned about Dr. Fauci.
Oh, yeah. Well, Dr. Fauci, a couple of things about him. I'm a big fan of his. I'm going to try to find this for you here. He has a bobblehead coming out. Not him, but there's a company that's making these bobbleheads. They're on pre-sale, and they seem to be the hottest thing going right now. So if you want to get your bobblehead, I guess you can get those. Also, there's a company in Georgia, the Wild Heaven Beer Brewery, is coming out with the Fauci Spring, a new pale ale. Now, the brewery's president, Nick Purdy, said the beer was already in development, simply needed a name. He says Fauci Spring is made up of acai berries, so-called superfood, touting alleged health benefits such as boosted weight loss and youthful glowing skin, of course, until the 40th bottle, and then you have something else to deal with there. So, and something else about Dr. Fauci. I saw on Channel 9 last night, they played a clip of him talking about, let me see if I can find it here, talking about sports and when we can see the return of sports in the arenas and everything else. Here's what he had to say.
There's a way of doing that. Nobody comes to the stadium. Put them in big hotels, wherever you want to play. Keep them very well surveilled, and namely a surveillance, but have them tested like every week and make sure they don't wind up infecting each other or their family, and just let them play the season out. I mean, people say, well, you can't play without spectators. Well, I think you probably get enough buy-in from people who are dying to see a baseball game.
Okay, probably a bad choice of words there. But there are a lot of people that are very eager to see a baseball game or sports. And you know what? It can be done. I don't see any reason why not. You look at all the late-night talk show hosts, or daytime talk show hosts for that matter, that are doing their shows without audiences. A little awkward at first, and I know the players really get revved up because of the fans cheering.
Man, yes. If you've ever been in Gallagher-Iba during a game, it is the loudest place on the face of the planet.
Exactly.
That's got to jive them up. So I don't know. I think it's interesting. Like you say, we've gotten creative during this COVID-19 conundrum. And a lot of us have had to think of creative ways to stay connected. But I don't know, the players, what is that going to feel like? We ought to ask Coach Switzer. We'll see if we can get him to talk with us and find out a little bit of what his thoughts are, because he knows what makes a player tick, and maybe, I don't know, because I don't know if you saw him not too long ago. He was telling everybody to stay home, and so there's like a both sides.
In no uncertain terms.
Yes. We gotta find that video. We gotta
try to reach him and ask him about that for sure. And with everybody just inventing new ways of doing things during this COVID-19 thing, doing things without a live audience. All the late night talk show hosts have really done their best at that. And I've seen some reviews on Jimmy Fallon. He's got his 2 girls involved in it, and I think
they're adorable.
Yeah, and now my dog is trying to bark and be a part of the show tonight.
Is Barb telling you to get off the air?
Well, maybe so. I don't know. He waits outside the studio door all the time. He's just sitting there on the floor waiting for me to get done. When I come out, he's like, okay, finally, let's go play with the Frisbee. He's a cute dog. Maybe I need
to share a picture of what my dog's been up to, because that's a daily entertainment thing. I don't know how fast I could show you, but I ought to post this one up, because it is definitely what we caught him doing today was pretty rare. Would you like me to try to see if I can?
Yeah, if you can put that on the Kent and Kathi Facebook page.
I'll put it on the Kent and Kathi page, because that was way too cute. I'm posting it now, and as I do, I wanted to mention there was something else that you and I talked about, and it has to do with sports and everything else, even the fact that we're throwing a love to a lot of local businesses right now because, it's been tough. This whole social distancing is working, though. At least that's what Governor Stitt has said. I guess he said, really, we're doing great. We're flattening the curve, Oklahoma. However, it's not the time to take our foot off the gas. He's trying to encourage us to keep practicing with the most, I guess, vulnerable to stay in until at least like May 6th now. But there's a new graph that shows that our safer at home orders are really helping. The vulnerable population really needs to stay in, but I guess they're going to start allowing elective surgeries. They're going to maybe April 24th. And I started thinking, a lot of folks were quickly derailed that I have an uncle that was about to have a hernia procedure, been in a lot of pain, and they told him, you're going to have to wait. And so this could be some really good news for a lot of folks that have had this, sudden, change of plans. But I guess they were truly worried that the hospital beds would be in short supply and there'd be a surge of patients. So the PPE supplies for the healthcare workers would also be a problem. So hopefully if we just kind of stay the course and keep practicing social distancing, a lot of us have been washing our hands so much, we're finding, our skin is either as soft or as dry as it can possibly be after this much washing. Right. But it's working. It's light at the end of the tunnel, they say. And I think that's good. It'll give us all hope.
Well, and as you mentioned, as long as we stay the course, and as everybody in authority or the health officials have said, keep that social distancing, be careful, we're not off the hook. But we can keep it going in the right direction if we keep those practices going. So I'm all for that. That's for sure. Let's get everything rolling again safely when we can.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I know that
Go ahead.
Sorry. I was just going to say, we shared the gender mind bender. We're getting a lot of comments. Judy's out there. Beth, Todd is trying to answer, Todd, on your gender mind bender question. So I thought maybe you should ask it again and we could start sharing some of the comments that we're getting.
All right. The question is, the number of women doing this has gone up 25% in the last 10 years. What is it?
I don't know. See, I don't know the answer yet, but Todd asked, is it something illegal? Could it be something illegal? So I'm going to leave that one to you to maybe give us a slight hint.
I'll let you know. It actually is something illegal.
What?
All right, so that could be a lot of things still, but it is something illegal. So think about that. What has gone up by 25%? This has been done. Women are doing this 25% more in the last 10 years.
Okay, I'm posting up on our Kent and Kathi page quickly what my pup's been up to. Walked in and found this little couch potato doing this. So you can check that out on our Kent and Kathi page. And we're still going to take some of yours if you want to share what your crazy pups have been up to. We love that.
That'd be great. That'd be great. There was something we wanted to give a little shout out to Michael's Grill. Is that right?
Yeah, Michael's Grill. That's one of those that we've all just enjoyed so many years. And in Nichols Hills right now, you can imagine a lot of folks are dying to get back out and enjoy the food that they've loved forever. Well, Michael's Grill is going to continue serving you in Oklahoma City or around the area with curbside pickup or delivery. What you want to do is head over and check out some of the fabulous specials, including like right now, 30% off wine. And they'll encourage you with some different pairings that they have right now on some of their featured meals at Michael's Grill OK on Instagram, Michael's Grill OKC on Instagram. Or if you want to go to Michael's Grill OK at gmail.com, go ahead and share your order. Maybe they'll deliver it, or you can just go and pick it up in a very healthy and social distancing way, and you still get that great food that you love from Michael's Grill. So enjoy.
That sounds really good. Well, by the way, in just a few minutes, Linda Cavanaugh, she's ready to join us here. So we look forward to hearing from her. Also, later on tonight, we will give the answer to the gender mind bender. It's all coming up here on the Kent and Kathi Cast.
Welcome back to Fox 2 News at 9 a.m. Time once again to get you caught up on your news headlines. For that, the Hamburglar.
And England skipper Andrew Strauss arrived in London, proudly showing off the little urn. They'll spend 4 days at home before flying out for the World Cup. And Belinda, I just can't understand how something so small can be so impressive.
Well, Mark, you would know about that. Thank you very much.
I'm Scott Mattis, live in Hernando, Mississippi, where there's been spottings of a cougar, and that's not it. That looks like a house cat, but we're just feet away from where a local man rolled his cell phone video on what some say is a cougar. I'll be right back with a live report.
Also on, Chef, was Constance Landry. She says she's lived here her entire life, almost 80 years, been through just about everything.
Ain't no 80 years old.
Well, just about. I'm sorry, Miss Constance. 76 to be exact.
No, 75.
75.
That wasn't too long, was it? Now, more of the Kent and Kathi cast.
That was a little bit of a faux pas from that reporter. She's not 80 years old. She's only 75. We've all had those faux pas, haven't we?
I don't know about you. I've never had one in my life, actually, ever. Yeah, never. No. Or a lot. So.
All right, I'll let you know about my biggest faux pas. This is one of the most embarrassing things. I was brand new to Oklahoma City. So this was 32 years ago. And I was on the morning show, and we had somebody in from the Just Say Ho Clown Alley talking about an event that was coming up. And I said, well, and Ho-Ho will be there too, right? And the girl just looked me in the eye and said, he's dead. And I'm like, oh, gosh, I could have just died right there just from embarrassment. So I bring that up again, and of course, I will never live that one down. But I was brand new. I didn't know the history of Ho-Ho at that time.
I'm sure it was understandable, but yeah, that was one of those early treasures a lot of us grew up with, those of us who are from Oklahoma. And so it was probably like one of those, like everybody in the room went, as you said that.
Exactly. That's the way it was. And I was just so embarrassed. So, but fortunately, we did a lot of great things with the Just Say Ho Clown Alley, and they were just a whole lot of fun. So it all worked out. They forgave me. I just didn't know. Let's do another shout out here real quick. We have somebody to shout out, another business that we appreciate being a sponsor.
Again, we love when you jump in and you're a part of the Kent and Kathi cast. Want to give some love to Nancy Farha Women's Clothing and Accessories. Honestly, they have these wonderful daily live events on Facebook on the Nancy Farha page. And the great news is they're putting together ensembles for you. They're showing you either on Instagram or Facebook some great outfit ideas. And guess what? The best part, you let them know you want it, they will deliver. Another great Oklahoma business finding a creative way not only to stay open and thrive, but to meet your needs. You can also call them at 405-990-8984. Again, free shipping or local delivery. Way to go, Nancy Farha. Some great Oklahoma businesses we get a chance to brag about on the Kent and Kathi cast.
Guess who has just joined us here, Kathi? Look, it's Linda Cavanaugh.
It is so great to see you, Miss Linda. Welcome.
Oh my gosh, it's so great to see you. Virtual hug to both of you. This is new and exciting.
It's always fun to be able to catch up and to know what's going on and see how you're doing, because we haven't seen you in a while. And how's retirement been going?
You know, I'd say on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm at about a 20, 10 being the best. So
wow,
very nice.
Okay, well, how's your husband though?
Yeah, I put him in the other room so he can't weigh in. I think he'd say it's good.
It's been nice though to see you again after all this time, and really during this time, you know, you're not only a voice but a face of comfort, I think, for a lot of us. And we've enjoyed you over the years, and we're so glad to have you back. And
well, thank you so much. And it's so nice to work with you guys again. It's been a while, but it's been a good break. But this was just a project that kind of compelled me to come back to do it. And so that's the reason I got involved, and I'm very happy that I did.
Well, and you remember, of course, everyone remembers where they were on April 19th, 95. What was your call to action that day? How did you get notified of the news?
Oh my gosh, Tony Stizza, a photographer that I often worked with, and I were in Vietnam. And I got up in the middle of the night, and in Vietnam, they conserve their electricity. We were actually in Hanoi. And so you had to take this credit card-like device and stick it in this slot by the door to turn on the electricity. So we were suffering from jet lag. So I got up in the middle of the night, I had to go to the bathroom. And so I put this slot in, the card in the slot, and the television came on. And it's like 3 o'clock in the morning there. And I hear this voice of somebody I recognize from Channel 4. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is a dream. And so I walked over in front of the television set, and it was a nightmare. It wasn't a dream, because that's when I joined was when they had the first press conference, and everybody was talking about this horrific tragedy and what had happened. But I still didn't have a clue what it was until they went to a shot of the federal building. And then it still just gives me chills, because that is ingrained in my memory forever, I think.
I think for all of us, it feels a lot like that. And we can remember it, sadly, like it was just yesterday. We go immediately to those memories. You mentioned Tony Stizza, your photojournalist that's been with you on a lot of projects. Well, he now is with the Oklahoma City Memorial Museum. And I remember seeing him there one day and thinking, wow, what a connection. And interestingly enough, I believe he helped you with this current project that you're working on for Channel 4.
Absolutely. We co-produced it together. Channel 4 has been a media partner with the Oklahoma City National Memorial for 25 years. And so this was just kind of a natural extension of that partnership. But what they allowed us to do was extraordinary, because for the past 25 years, they've been bringing people in who were in some way associated with the bombing or affected by it. Family members who'd lost someone they loved, those who were injured, first responders, the judges who were involved in the trials, the lawyers, the law enforcement who caught McVeigh. And so it was just an extraordinary look at the bombing through people that I had never heard their voices before. And so for the past 25 years, the memorial has been recording these, what they call oral histories, and it's part of this unique collection. And this is the first time they've allowed them to be broadcast. So tonight, when it's on at 7 o'clock, will be the first time in 25 years that they have been broadcast.
Wow. That will bring a lot of feelings back to, I think, a great number of people in the community that may recognize somebody they haven't heard from in all this time, and look at some of the pictures that nobody's seen. That just, it's chilling to think about.
It is, but the deeper you get into it and the more you know about it, nothing will ever erase the sadness and the sense of loss. But I left every day having read through, another 20 or 40 or 50 of these oral histories and watching them without a sense of pride in Oklahomans and in what they accomplished and what they did. So it was really it was in some sense, it opens old wounds, but in another, it was very reassuring. Because after 25 years, most of these people have done an incredible job of rebuilding their lives if that's what was called for. So it was uplifting in that respect.
Well, Oklahoma's always been resilient, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's really something to think about. The children in 1995 are now 25 years older and adults. And this is a way for them to kind of understand maybe what their parents were going through.
Yes, you're exactly right. And also along those same lines, Ken, a lot of people younger people, I would say under the age of 28, 29, have no memory of it. They were 3 or 4 years old. And so it's history to them. It's nothing they've even heard about. But we talked to one of the survivors from the daycare center in the Murrah bombing. And Christopher Wynn said what he does, he doesn't have any recollection of it. The only thing he knows of, he says, is what his parents have told him. And that's it. And they had saved some newspaper articles and he read through those. But it's kind of a bizarre thing because he has no memory of it whatsoever. And so his take on it is that for whatever reason, he was given a second chance at life and he wants to live it to the fullest. He wants to do everything right. He wants to take advantage of that second chance. Just another one of those attitudes where it makes you appreciate where they're coming from at this point. He's like, he's under 30, but he's a young adult.
I can only imagine what it was like going through school and hearing about it from your history teacher. And you're like,
right.
Well, I was there. I don't remember, but I was there. Isn't that something?
Yeah.
Well, and for all the people that have come from other states, my brothers live in other parts of the country. One of them has since passed away, but I remember when he came to the city and he made it a point, I want to go visit the memorial, because people hear about this on the news, but this is a way for them to understand firsthand what Oklahomans went through and what brought us all together, which like tragedies have a weird way of doing, right?
They do. And, you know, growing up in Oklahoma, I always just had the sense that this is the way everybody did it. You know, if I need something from my neighbor, I may not have talked to them in 2 or 3 weeks or a month, but they're right there immediately to help. And I think that's what the world saw when they looked in at Oklahoma City. And I think that's what so compelled them to become involved in this coverage. And you may remember, Kent, they had set up what was called a satellite city. And it was filled with live trucks and satellite trucks from around the United States, and many of those broadcasting around the world. I think this was the first main event that CNN covered 24/7. And of course, all the local stations were on 24/7, and their affiliates were generally covering and carrying that coverage. So people around the world, I think it's fair to say, were inspired and compelled to watch this, because they had never seen that type of response to an event of this magnitude. You know, and sadly to say, in some cases, when there's a bombing, people are running away from the bombing. In Oklahoma City, they were running toward the building to go in and to help. In fact, in those first few hours, you'll hear from some of the officials, first responders, a lot of the rescue work was being done by people in short sleeves and business suits. It was just, it was an amazing thing to witness.
It's that jump to action, that response. You just want to go, forget about preparing. You got to go help somebody.
That's exactly right. That's exactly the way
Oklahoma Standard, if you recall, was termed that point in time in our lives, and still is something today, even with this current health crisis we're in. I hear people mention the Oklahoma Standard because people run to, you know, where it's needed, you know, who needs what at this time. And we're all in this together. And even just in our own backyards, how we're looking after one another in just kind ways. You know, Kent and I mentioned during the Easter holiday how people were, you know, putting, you know, Easter eggs on people's front doors, or painting their mailboxes with, you know, pretty pastel colors, just to encourage each other. That is a part of this Oklahoma Standard that is now something I think inspires the world.
And doesn't it make you proud to live here and be part of it? How lucky we were to be born in Oklahoma, or to live here since birth. Yeah,
right.
Absolutely true.
Right. And well, from my experience, I moved here 31 years ago. And from the very first day, I felt how at home I could feel here, because everyone here was so responsive and friendly. So I'm proud to have made this my home for the last 31 years and continue on.
Well, we're sure happy that you're here too, Kent.
Well, thank you.
We'll let you stay, I guess.
Well, thanks. Well, and of course, I watch Linda Cavanaugh on the news on News 4 all the time. So anyway.
Oh, well, you're nice to say that.
You know what's going to happen? They're not going to want you to leave after this. You realize that.
No, they probably will. Kathi, you mentioned Tony Stizza. And so we need to get back to that, because that's who worked on this project with me. He's been with the Memorial 12 years now. He does all of their videos and things like that. So his institutional knowledge of what was there and who to use was a great guidance in terms of putting this together, because you have so much you're trying to tell in, you know, less than an hour once you take out the breaks and things like that. And it's a challenge.
I would
because
imagine
you could do 4 or 5 or 6 hours on this. I mean, the interviews were so compelling and the information so unique. I never knew that there was a man, a Marine, who was right behind the truck, and he saw the truck pull in, and he said it made him halfway angry and then he saw this guy, tall, military-looking guy, crew cut, get out and start running away. And he said it made him angry that he would park in this red zone, because as a military man, he should know better. And so he watched this individual run away. He went in the building, and he was critically injured by the bomb. But he testified in 3 of the trials as they proceeded about what he saw, to be able to place the perpetrator at the scene. So it's remarkable stories. I've never even heard that.
I have.
Of course, I didn't attend. I covered all the trials, but I wasn't in the courtroom for the whole thing. So people who were there, I'm sure, heard it, but most of us did not.
I think this is a wonderful project to be able to hear stories like that.
Right, and these are some stories that have not been heard of before then.
Right. Yes, exactly.
Okay, so you've uncovered a lot of things in the process. Some behind the scenes stuff that maybe if you go to the Memorial Museum, is all of that there, or are there extra things that you've discovered as well?
Well, of course, all of these interviews came from the memorial, and some of them were talked about, but even in a memorial as grand as the museum is and as much information as they have in it, they don't have 875 people who are all talking at the same time. So I hope that we can shed a little new information in addition to what they have at the memorial, which of course is nationally renowned museum and memorial at this point. We're so lucky to have had that.
Right. We're privileged. I think Tony was kind enough to ask to do my oral history, and that's also included in the museum from that day, because as a broadcaster, so many of us were on the air 6 minutes, actually, where I was working at the time at Magic 104, how quickly the whole radio station, and Kent can testify to this from his radio station days, we were instantly just information collectors working together to share what we could of what information was coming in at that time. And then again, seeing that unbelievable Oklahoma standard of, Oklahomans calling from all over. What can we do? Where can we go? Who needs water? What rescue workers need, some food? We're here to help. And it was just unbelievable. I get goosebumps again as I think about this. Yeah. And if someone has not been to our amazing National Memorial, that is something, even on Facebook, you can get just glimpses. And when this pandemic, gets to a point where we can come out and go in again, I would encourage everyone to go and check it out. It really is just a story that needs to keep being told. And what you are doing and what we get to see tonight on Channel 4, it tells that story even more deeply than I think a lot of us have been exposed to. And I think that is absolutely well needed right now. And what a wonderful way to celebrate 25 years of all those lives that, God bless them, we'll never forget. We will never forget.
No, and you're exactly right. God bless every one of them, from the survivors to the family members. What difficult roads they've sometimes had to travel. But you'll hear from a lot of those people who speak from the heart about how they did it. And some of it is gut-wrenching, but most of it is just, oh my gosh, that's advice I can use in anything that's happening in life. And it's just, there's just a strength there that makes you feel good about Oklahoma. That's for sure.
It's hard to believe it's been 25 years already. For a lot of us, that just seems like yesterday, but it will be important to stop and look back and remember and pay tribute to those who we've lost in the process. And I think making another point to go to that memorial and museum and take a look, I didn't check, is it open during the virus?
No, they closed it about 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
And now just recently they've had to close the grounds itself. There's a fence around it. And that's traumatic for a lot of family members who make an annual pilgrimage there to go to those chairs, but they're doing everything they can to rearrange things so that as soon as it's possible, all of the family members and those who are affected can come down and take part in their usual family ceremonies at the individual chairs. So it's been a difficult time certainly for all of those folks.
And with that all being closed, then the actual anniversary on Sunday, are they doing a video memorial service?
That's exactly what they're doing, an hour-long program that has been already produced, and from what I hear, it's exceptional. And it will air at 9 o'clock, not only on the memorial website, but it will air live on all of the local affiliates here in Oklahoma City and in Tulsa. And then I think it'll be on many websites, so people around the country will be able to tune in and watch it. Yeah.
Very good. Very good. Well, definitely.
They've been very innovative in trying to deal with this, and everybody appreciates what they've done.
Everybody is inventing new ways to do things in this coronavirus world.
Which gives me a great idea as you consider yourself retired. I think you and Tony need to write a book and bring forth even more stories, because I think there are so many more stories that only you and your incredible gift of storytelling could tell. And we'd love to hear them. We really would.
So
tonight at 7, we get to see it all tonight too.
There's something about the visuals, as you know, Kathy, when you're talking to somebody, when you see what they're saying and you see it, how their eyes react and how their face looks, it gives more meaning to the words that they're saying. And that's why television has always been one of my favorite ways to tell a story, because you can't doctor words when you see it's coming out of somebody's soul. And that's what's happening in a lot of these interviews that you'll see tonight, even from law enforcement. and from the people who were working 24/7 virtually. Of course, this was the biggest case in FBI history. And so all the federal government people were there, the local, and their ability to, now this was another unknown fact that I didn't know, at least I'm sure a lot of people may have, but just like the year before this horrible tragedy in Oklahoma City, all of the major organizations, the fire, the police, the ambulance, mayors, and people like that, went to Florida for a special session where they learned how to deal with a disaster. And of course, they thought it was going to be a tornado or something like that. But as a result of this, they had the personal relationships with each other to hit the ground running. And I think that's one of the reasons things went as smoothly as it did in those first few hours and in the weeks to come. It was just a remarkable coincidence.
That is amazing. I don't think anything is by accident. I'm one of those people, but I got to tell you, that is, that again, just blows my mind. Yeah. I mean, even more, 25 years later, I'm still learning new things about that time and realize just, I mean, everything that happened, I will just never, I don't think we can ever, ever, ever forget. So thank you so much for telling this story and giving us the opportunity to, you know, cherish those families even more.
Oh, it's always good to see you, Kathy and Kent. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. And I hope that it gives people a glimpse of an event that shaped all of our lives and leaves them with a sense of hope and courage.
Indeed.
That's what I hope.
Indeed. Linda, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us tonight. We look forward to seeing the show tonight on News Channel 4 at 7 o'clock.
Thanks so much, Kent. Thanks, Kathy.
All right. Meanwhile, we invite our viewers to share your experience. Where were you at 9:02 on April 19th, 1995? Go ahead and make a comment on the Facebook page here, and we'll be back with some of those in just a few minutes. Coming up on the Kent and Kathy Cast.
At 9:01, it looked like a normal day. At 9:02, our state and our country severely shaken.
The Oklahoma City bombing. Out of this immense tragedy came something few expected, the incredible stories never before broadcast.
Watch 9:02 tonight at 7 on News 4.
Now, more of the Kent and Kathy Cast with Kent Jones and Kathy Yeager.
That was really neat having her on the show. That was great.
I love Linda. And I think at this time, especially with everything that's going on currently in our area, isn't it a warm welcome to see that familiar, very comforting face that we've all grown to know, love, and trust? It's great to see her again. It really is.
Absolutely. Yes, it's been great. It was great to visit with her again. It'll be good to see her on that show tonight at 7 o'clock.
Kent, we've got some comments, some small business shout outs that Brenda jumped in on the Kent and Kathy page and asked that, you know what, listen, we have a lot of businesses she wants to show some love to. So I thought, yeah, let's mention them all. She mentions when things get back up and running, we want to show some love to Matt Cowell Music. Said things are just at a standstill, and a lot of entertainers are really missing venues that they regularly play. The Chicken Shack in Luther, Coal Creek Winery in Tuttle, Our Glass in El Reno, Fuel in Bricktown, JJ's Alley in Edmond. So Brenda, thank you for sharing those businesses that we could just give mentions to and shout out, because it's all about small business and we definitely want to keep those thriving in our great state. And of course, we know that this is, you know, they say this time shall pass. And when it does, make that V, we'll get out there and we will wisely and safely start hitting up all our businesses again in Oklahoma.
Oh, indeed. And you mentioned Matt Cowell. I happen to know him. And I've known him for several years, and if you ever do get a chance to see him perform, definitely do, and get some of his CDs and so on, because he's really a fantastic performer. And I think what Brenda was saying there, too, was all the places that he normally performs are closed, so definitely we want those businesses to open and all of our performers to have a chance to entertain once again.
I think that would be great. Now, we've also had, a whole bunch of comments, some guesses on Your gender mind bender is
Gender
just
mind
hard.
bender. All right, the
Dude,
question
it's
again.
hard.
The number of women doing this has gone up 25% in the past 10 years. What is it? And we know it's something illegal. I did mention that earlier.
That
What
was
are some
a
of the
clue,
guesses?
right?
That's
okay,
right.
so we've got speeding as a potential guess. No.
That's not it.
Okay. We've got comments too. Lorna says, hey, she's saying hi. And by the way, Lorna is bringing up some of the memories from the 25th anniversary that we just talked to Linda about. So just want to let folks know, keep those comments coming. We're going to be sharing those too, so that we can stay connected and think about this. I can't believe 25 years.
Right.
But no, nobody has a right guess so far for your gender mind bender.
All right, we will give that correct answer here in just a little bit. You know, we were talking about the 25th anniversary coming up on Sunday. Both of us were on different radio stations and on the air when it happened. What was your story?
I will never forget that day. And I think my friends who might be happening to be watching from Magic 104, where I was that day, we were in transition, I guess. There was the morning show was coming off. Larry Grant was on. I was coming up next. And it was this strange, I happened to be on a phone call with a client. It was actually an agency. And as I was talking to this lady, I remember it like it was yesterday. My office shook. The radio station at that time was far up on Kelly by the TV stations, actually not far from Channel 4. And it was, I don't know what it is. I guess we're like 6 minutes from downtown. But for us, it felt like a car. I remember more than one of us said, a car has hit our building. A car. I'm on the phone with this lady and I go, I have to go. I believe a car has just hit our building, because it was shaking so drastically. Interestingly enough, the lady who was far from me, nowhere close to our radio station, she said, I have to go too. I think somebody actually just hit our building. Wow. And I thought that was strange. We hung up and immediately all came together, and out the back window of our radio station was just this plume of smoke. So we immediately thought something's blown up, and it's obviously not far from us. But we had no idea until all the information started pouring in and all the phone calls started pouring in. And what was definitely a music station, a radio station, over all those years turned into this sort of news and information station. And it was just kind of like what we were talking about with Linda. It was information about what was going on, the speculation news-wise, what was behind it, and then all the amazing Oklahomans that are like, what can I do to help? What can I, I'm a hairdresser. I'd like to go wash the glass out of people's hair. I'm somebody that's got bottled water. I'd like to go help. And that over the next few days is what the story was again and again. And then a few days later, I had the privilege of interviewing the First Lady, who at the time was Hillary Clinton. And I actually have that interview. I've posted up numerous times just because I thought that was such an interesting thing all of a sudden to have this sort of this calm. And the president would visit later, but at the time, the First Lady wanted to make sure and connect and tell people, literally just used our information platform as a way to say everything's going to be okay. And politically, we're not necessarily on the same page, but I always appreciated that day and that phone call, and I'll never forget it.
Right. That's great. And from my experience, Danny Williams had just finished his show. It was on KOMA, and I came on at 9 o'clock. And at 9:02, the phone started ringing. People started saying, what happened? What did you hear that? Did you see that? Is there a fire downtown? And I had no idea at that point. But then we flipped on a TV station on the TV in the control room, and I saw a helicopter shot of the building. Now, several minutes had gone by the time they got the copter up there. But I go like, oh my gosh, the part of that building's gone. And the more they circled around, I go like, half the building's gone. And it really was a shock and a surprise. And so Steve Bennett was our news director at the time. He rushed on downtown. I think Bill Bateman was on our staff at the time too, and he rushed on down there. And we suddenly became an all-news station for at least 2 days before we decided to play any kind of music coming back, because it was such, obviously a big event. When do you stop and go back to playing some music, which also, by the way, is therapeutic? When people are going through a shocking time, sometimes just hearing a song can help you calm down a little bit. Just like we were going through the coronavirus thing today, you can just get inundated with all the news, and you say, okay, it's just time to relax and chill just for your own health. But that was the situation there. And then my wife Barb was at home. She said the dog started scurrying around even just before. It was like he sensed that something was going on and then started barking like crazy at 9:02. And at the time, we lived just south of Will Rogers Airport. So that's how far away they could sense that. And our radio studios were still in Moore on South 4th Street there at that time.
So it was not as close, but you know how the sound waves travel. I bet your dog sensed it, just through the ground. I don't know, perhaps. It's an interesting thing. And for those that may be a bit younger and weren't really there at that time, or maybe too young to remember it, there had not been anything, quite frankly, like that had happened currently to that level of quote unquote terrorism in our country before that happened. And we didn't have the kind of inundating sort of information coming at us at all time. We weren't online. It wasn't like, something we'd experienced before. So our psyches weren't prepared for what we were seeing, and that visual, we were glued. I mean, it was such a crazy, very visual, very scary time for a lot of people. I mean, I know kids probably had a hard time going to bed after all the things that they were seeing and hearing, because it was everywhere, and that's what people were talking about. But interesting memories. We'd love to have you share yours. I'm seeing a lot of folks. Our good friend Sandy, her husband Dennis, used to work with us. Yes. Our engineer. Hi, Sandy.
Hello,
I'm
Sandy.
so glad to have you. And as mentioned, Lorna Crosswhite said that she and her, I guess I'm assuming this is your husband, Noel, were at work, and Noel's sister was at work at the Journal Records building at that time. And her name is on the survivor's wall. What a tough day. And our thoughts and our prayers for you. Thank you for sharing that. I mean, Linda's story happens in just under 10 minutes on, News Channel 4. And I think for a lot of us, it'll take us back to that time. But that Oklahoma sort of way that we are resilient, I think we need that hope and strength, Kent, right now for this pandemic and for getting back to life and knowing this is just a segment of time. And we have overcome before. We will overcome again. And Oklahoma always comes out bigger and better. And I think that is why so many of us have decided this is a place of inspiration. And doggone it, I think, it's going to happen again.
And it's hard for us in Oklahoma because we're so friendly and welcoming for everybody. It's hard for us not to shake hands. I don't know that we'll be able to do that anytime soon, but everyone's taking it in stride, or give a hug or whatever.
I will fail that. The first minute they let me out of this house, I'm probably going to be like, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to touch you.
Well, we want to give the answer to our gender mind bender now. I guess nobody's gotten the correct answer. We've had a few guesses.
I don't see. Nope.
All right. The number of women doing this has gone up 25% in the past 10 years. What is it? Robbing banks. Who'd have guessed it? Yes, robbing banks.
What?
The number of women, it's not that women are doing that more often, it's just that more women are doing that than before.
Holy mackerel. Well, let's just pray times never get that tough.
That's right. Exactly. Hey, we're going to jump off here and give you a chance to tune over to News Channel 4 so you can watch Linda's special. And again, we want to say a big thank you to Linda for being a part of the show tonight.
Yeah, don't forget to like and share the Kent and Kathi page. Subscribe so you know when we're going live. And hopefully tomorrow we'll have another big guest for you, and we'll be able to chat and have some fun and stay connected and stay positive during this time. So we appreciate you tuning in. And again, thanks to Linda Cavanaugh. What a special lady. We love that lady.
Indeed. All righty. Folks, thanks for being along with us. And like Kathi said, if you follow us, you'll know exactly when the next time is that we'll be on. And meanwhile, stay well, stay safe. Thanks for being here on the Kent and Kathi Show.